I want you to remember to stay good boys and girls. Respect your mothers and fathers and do what they tell you. Obey your teachers and learn a whole lot. Now, if you do this, I'll make sure you get good presents from me every year. But if you're bad boys and girls, your name goes in the bad boys and girls book. And I'll bring you something horrible.
Welcome to Pumpkin Spice Podcast. It's a holiday spice treat since we've already done the autumn one. Graham, I'm Rob Schulte. You're Graham Young. Let's just get into this. How are you?
I'm doing good, Rob. Happy Kwanzaa or Christmas or Hanukkah or nothing. Whatever you celebrate, happy that.
Now, it's been a minute. You've gotten your toes in some interesting ponds lately.
Yeah, well, December was really busy just because I helped a friend of mine shoot a feature film, and we did it in about 2 weeks, which is just insane. And then I was a key grip on another film in December, so I'm finally kind of getting back to normal. Just staying pretty busy here in Austin, Texas.
What was the film about?
It's a movie called Ultimate World, and it's about a man that goes to an ultimate world.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I really sold it there. But no, it's a great film, and again, my friends Spencer and Nathaniel, who I think Spencer might be listening to this, did an incredible job, and the experience was fantastic. So I thank them for allowing me to be a part of it.
Well, that's exciting.
A toast! To Santa Claus!
Graham, what are some Christmas, holiday, horror films that you always like to revisit?
Well, the one we watched last year, Christmas Evil, is my absolute favorite.
Well, let's get a little background, just in case some people didn't listen to that. What's some of your favorite parts about that one?
You know, we have this person, the main character in the film, who's this this murderer, essentially. He's done some terrible things. He's dressing up like Santa Claus. He believes he is Santa Claus. And he's murdered people. And I believe at the end of the movie, Rob, the cops come in to arrest him, but they can't because the kids sort of surround him and protect him from the police officers. And then the movie just kind of ends, where it's just like, you know what? Sure, this guy murdered a couple of people, but the kids love him, so who cares?
The kids love him, let's keep him.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful movie. And to quote one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, John Waters, he's actually the reason how I found out about Christmas Evil. And he said,
it's a really heartwarming Christmas horror movie that I recommend for the whole family to really be appalled by on Christmas Eve.
And I think that's the perfect description for Christmas Evil. So that would be my number one. What about you, Rob?
That's the same. I love that it's still on YouTube, because any sort of hard copy version of this is like $30 on Amazon.
That's a bummer.
But it's free on YouTube.
There you go. So just go to YouTube and
watch
watch this masterpiece from 1980, I think.
It really is. It is. You can tell someone really wanted to make this movie.
Yeah, it's basically like it's a filmmaker that is not only loves Christmas, but is also a psycho. And they made a movie. And you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, this movie is bizarre and nuts and out there and weird, but you sort of learn to accept it, which is something I could not do for the movie that we're going to discuss later in this episode.
Let's just get into it right now.
Okay.
This was a listener's suggestion. We watched Better Watch Out from 2016. Now, before, Graham, I know you're looking at me like you want to jump in here.
Uh-huh.
the movie was given to me as a suggestion after I said, nothing jumps out at me as a new horror film around Christmas time. And this conversation was coming from like Krampus when that came out last year. I was like, and this guy was like, well, I watched this and it has an interesting spin and I don't want to hype it up too much, but you might find some sort of entertainment value when watching it. And I did. I found some entertainment value, but no, it was not one of my favorites.
Well, I think our listener is correct in the sense that it did have an interesting twist. I'll say interesting. It did not work for me at all. Here's the thing. I can't be too hard on this film because an attempt was made, right?
Yes.
And they tried to do something different. It just didn't work for me. Some of our listeners may watch this or may have already watched it and disagree with my opinions but on the film. But I just I thought it was pretty bad.
So let's paint a little bit of a picture here.
Sure.
This babysitter, Ashley, travels to the suburban home of the Lerners to babysit their 12-year-old son, Luke, at Christmas time. She must soon defend herself and the young boy when unwelcomed intruders announce their arrival. Now, of course, we're not trying to hide any story from anyone. The young man, Luke, the 12-year-old, has set this whole thing up because he's psychotic. And I think that's the attempt you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So what's set up, this film is set up so that it's like a home invasion movie. It turns out that the kid loves this babysitter, and his motivations are really unclear to me. And so he kidnaps her, and then he convinces her last two boyfriends to come to the house, and so he can kill all three of them for some reason.
Because he's in love with her.
Okay, I get that. I get that.
But that's still not a reason.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The movie sort of builds, and I'm sorry if we're skipping around all over the place on this film, but the movie sort of builds itself as that this kid has this master plan, and he's going to get away with everything, and then things just get out of control, and you're like, the whole house is a crime scene that he's going to totally get busted. There's no way that the cops are going to ignore the fact. Like, they build it up that he has a sleepwalking disorder. But that doesn't mean that he would sleep through all these murders. Like, the end of the film look, an attempt was made. So I don't want to be too hard on this film, but it doesn't really add up to much, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Rob, can you make any more sense of this?
Well, I think that it really seems like the creators knew what they were doing when they made it. And I think it was made for fun, and they got financing for it, so let's actually make this new Christmas horror film. I don't know where the disconnect is, though, from wanting to have fun and wanting to have, this very toxic young man. It would be cool if there was just another element that gave any sort of explanation on this psychotic young boy.
Or a build-up at all. Anything. Yeah. Anything. Yeah. And we've talked about Halloween and how there is no explanation for Michael Myers' insanity. And that kind of leads to this mysterious sort of vibe, and it's kind of why we all come back to Halloween.
But it's also a character that we never see the face or hear the voice of.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a completely different thing. And for us to accept the fact that this child is capable of murdering not only the love of his life, but his best friend and two other people, it's just like, oh, by the way, this kid's crazy. None of it was built up. None of it was out there for the audience to sort of kind of take in and digest. It's a really weird film.
And it was a little too, the picture was too crisp for me, if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Rob. For the first act of Better Watch Out, I had to keep on reminding myself that I was watching a film and not a primetime network show.
Yeah.
That even lighting, right, throughout the house, it's very uncinematic, and it just felt like a television show. Towards the end, they do some stuff with lighting that is a little bit more cinematic, but for the most part, this is just it looks like a made-for-TV movie at best.
Okay, we've been kind of harsh on it, though.
Let's try to find some positives. Rob, can you find a positive in Better Watch Out?
I felt like I knew what I was getting into, but I did not call that twist with the young man. So when that happened, it was like I had a level of like, oh, where's this going to go? And it kept my attention. And then one of the new characters from Stranger Things was in the film towards the end, and that was kind of fun to see a character that you've only seen decked out in like very stereotypical 80s garb, looking like a, like fashionable high school senior.
Wait, so which one is the kid from Stranger Things? I haven't seen Stranger Things. I'm sorry.
So you wouldn't know anyway.
Yeah, but you're talking about the kid at the very end that was
the one that hangs from the tree.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he's a new villain, but in the sense of non-supernatural villain.
Okay.
In the season 2 of Stranger Things.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sort of pretty much caught up on film, but television I'm really behind. So I did not catch that, but Rob, I agree with you with the fact that the twist overall doesn't work for me at all, but I didn't see it coming.
Yep.
And it's kind of dumb, but I didn't see it coming.
Yes.
So there you go.
That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like I'm just throwing something off the top of my head. If it was the same twist, but it turns out the kid was an evil Christmas elf, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be open up a different branch of storyline rather than just some 12-year-old boy psychotically in love with his babysitter. Like that's like the workshop meeting that you'll be like, okay, we'll come back to this later, but like this is kind of like the idea we're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who's that weed smoking friend of his?
I don't know. That was one of the elements of the story that bothered me the most, because that kid really. Let me say this, Rob. I think all of the acting was for the most part pretty good. My problem was the way the characters were written, and the best friend character just didn't really have a personality at all besides let's smoke some dope and I'll just go along with my friend on his stupid scheme. But he never had any reason to be invested in the crime himself
at all. They kind of like back up towards the end, be like, well, remember that time he helped you with this? And it's like, yeah, that doesn't involve multiple murders.
Yeah, this is murder. That's the worst thing ever. And
they try and convey that like in the scene, but it just falls flat.
It does. Yeah. Now, Rob, what I don't get is, so I went on Rotten Tomatoes just to kind of see what other people thought, what kind of critics' interpretations of the film were, and it has an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I have no idea how that happens.
I don't know how that happens, but it happens.
Is there something that we're not getting? Are we looking at this too much on the surface?
I'm assuming that there was some buzz. Yeah, I don't know why critics sort of fell in love with this film. I was underwhelmed, and I'm still going to stick with Christmas Evil as far as my horror Christmas dramedy goes.
Me too. So Christmas Evil is still the reigning champ of holiday horror. We tried Better Watch Out to see if it could take the crown, and it just couldn't live up. It's maybe more of the court jester.
But we appreciate our listeners giving us feedback, and
absolutely,
that was great. Rob, I have a quick question for you. On our Pumpkin Spice Podcast Facebook page, I made a post asking our listeners what is their favorite horror film of the 21st century from any country. I think there were a lot of people that responded to that, but I don't remember. I don't think you did. And
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, then I just didn't see it. So what is your favorite horror film of the 21st century, Rob?
Off the top, when I was commenting there, I said The Witch.
Okay.
Because I enjoy a period drama. I don't know. It's fun to put yourself in that position, and then you're kind of almost open to tell any sort of folklore-y tale. And I love folklore. So,
The Witch feels like it's the director's 6th or 7th film. Like it's he's a very confident filmmaker, and it just feels like he's in the peak of his career. And when I looked up on IMDb, that was actually his first film.
Wow.
And so I was very impressed. I mean, that's a damn excellent first film from a director.
I can't wait to see his 6th.
Yes, or 7th. But yeah, Rob, The Witch is excellent, and that's a very good choice.
What did you say? What was yours? Antichrist?
Antichrist, yeah. And The Witch is right up there. Rob, I was just going to throw this out to our listeners that wanted to give us some feedback. Let us know your favorite horror film of the 21st century. Maybe it's something that Rob and I haven't seen yet, and you could really do us a solid by recommending a solid horror film.
Yeah, because we want to do a few more of these episodes before next season, but now that, the holiday spice episodes are done, we're pretty much open for anything.
Yes, and we do mean anything.
All right, make sure that you like and subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating and review if you enjoy the show. We've got a discussion group that you can request access to on Facebook, so take a look. Pumpkin Spice Podcast. Graham, it's been a good 2017.
Yes, it's been a good 2017. 2018
for the podcast. I mean, everything else has been garbage. But.
Yes, yeah. The world is in decay,